Okay, what's up folks? So I'm out for the big ride of the week. Today is supposed to be a 3-hour endurance ride where I'm not going too hard, just getting in that zone 2 mileage. Now, I was really hoping to do today's ride on the trails. Of course it rained. So you can see there's some water, but the road is not soaked. It's not like super muddy. So I don't know, we're gonna go to Bradbury and we'll see. I thought I'd give a little update on how training is going so far. Been meaning to do monthly updates where I do sort of like sit down in my studio and record a nice looking version of the video, but it's hard to find time to do that. So I'm going lo-fi here, and hopefully you all can let me know if you care. As I'm recording this, it's like late April. 2 months away from the first sort of like real race. I've got one early in June that I think is a 28-mile race. Mountain Mayhem or Mountain Madness, I can never remember which one it is, but anyway, the race at Mount Abram, that's sort of like how many laps can you do going up and down. That's, I think, June 22nd. That's a day where I'm gonna need to be able to go all day, and then I guess I'm about, so less than 3 months out from CBCC. So I still have some time, but it is time to really start getting stuff dialed in and figured out. I think the fitness is where it needs to be at this point, but there's further that we need to go there. And then I really have got to start figuring out all the gear, nutrition, feeding stuff, and how that works when you're out on the trails and not on a trainer in the basement, where obviously it's much easier to sort of take care of some of that stuff. So as I've said before, I'm working with a coach, Noah, on training, so he's designing my training plans every week. I'm just jumping in and doing it, and that has been working pretty well so far. It has meant that I'm on the trails a little bit less than I probably would be. There are some workouts, I'm trying to stick pretty closely to what he's prescribing, and any of the stuff where you have to be at a specific power for a certain amount of time, and it just sort of requires that precision. Difficult to do even on the roads. Impossible to do on trails. So I'm on the trainer a bit more, but we're gonna have to start tilting that balance in the other direction as time goes on, because I need miles on the trail to get the parts of my body ready that, you know, that aren't being worked out by the trainer, and I also need miles on the trail to get all the gear stuff worked out. So you can see today testing some NeoPro kit to see if this will stand up to 3 hours. But yeah, the training I think is going quite well. The nutrition in terms of like being able to eat on the bike, in terms of being able to keep it down, I think I'm doing okay with that kind of stuff. There is of course the skill of like actually being able to eat while on the bike. That's a little bit harder. I think some folks in the comments that asked about what I'm doing in terms of nutrition off the bike, and frankly the answer is not much. I mean, I'm trying to make sure that I get some recovery nutrition after the harder effort training rides, and in general I'm just trying to eat more healthily, you know, than I have in the past, but that's not the highest bar in the world. I have a side note just to say, dog people, I'm not trying to hate on you. I have a dog myself, but I hate your invisible fences when you leave the dogs outside with no supervision. Because here's the thing, they will come barreling towards you, and usually the fence stops them, but I've certainly had times where it doesn't, and they just go running right over it. And I don't know your dogs or whether that's going to happen. I know it's kind of a cool thing and it looks nicer, but I strongly prefer visible fence to invisible fence, or having an adult keeping an eye on their animals. This is the camera setup such as it is. You're definitely going to get a little bit of my face, but let's get up in here and see. There are definitely going to be blowdowns, but is this rideable from a wetness perspective? All right, we're just going to crank in here a little bit and see how far we can go. If it gets crazy, we'll turn around. Like, this is fine. I'm not leaving a trail. But because it did rain, although it didn't rain that heavily, all the trees are wet. So every time I touch like a pine tree, that part of my kit is getting soaked. Now the other thing is, because everything is wet, even though it's rideable, it may not be fun rideable. Holy crap. Well, that's not rideable. It's barely even walk aroundable. All right, you know what? I think we might be, maybe we'll try the other gate, but we might be stuck on the road for today for most of it, unfortunately. So the other aspect, there's sort of the training. That's just the rides. Those are going fine. There's the nutrition on the bike and off the bike. We talked about that. And then there's the gear. I guess that's where I feel I've been a little surprised. I guess it's not a thing that surprised me, but that I wasn't anticipating, was the extent to which sort of like all of the gear that I have, I need to rethink for these purposes. Because what's comfortable on like a 2-hour trail ride and an 8-hour race are not the same thing. I just have to be really sure that everything is going to work. So that's sort of meant a lot of messing around with stuff, a lot of time researching and sort of thinking about different gear and what I think would be right for me. And the problem is that a lot of it is you kind of just can't know if it's going to work for you until you try it. So the two biggest areas for me right now, there's bib or short, chamois, whatever you want to call it, and then there's pedals. Pedals are less of a big deal because I can just ride flats. If I can find clipless pedals that I can set up perfectly, then I sort of have the advantage of knowing, okay, I know my pedals are set up right and my feet are going to be comfortable. They're in the right position for the whole race. So that's why I'm trying to do clipless, but I may just end up running flats, and that would be fine too, obviously. So the pedal thing is also complicated by the fact that my feet splay outward, like the natural, especially my right foot, the natural riding position for me is not having it pointed forward like this. It's more like this. So that's why I need like pretty wide flat pedals. But clips are not set up to have your foot like that, which is a bit of a problem. People will tell you there's float in the pedals, and that's true. And you can adjust that with different cleats and things like that. But I'll tell you, like, even with a pedal extender on one side and a wedge under the cleat to sort of tilt my foot away to get the angle a little bit better, still have not been able to get it 100% comfortable. I've gotten it close. So my plan to deal with that is just to do a bike fit. The coach that I'm working with, Noah, I'll put a link to his site in the description, but he's also a professional bike fitter. He's got shoe inserts we can mess around with and stuff like that. So my thinking is basically, if clipless is going to work for me, he's got the tools and the knowledge that we're going to need to get that set up and working right. So I'm going to try that. That's an expense. It's another expense, but I think it's worth it to try at least once. And then I think, coming out of that, I'll have my answer forever, basically, whether clips are an option for me with my weird feet or not. So we'll see. The saddle and the bib are two other things that are obviously critically important. But yeah, the frustrating thing about bibs is that they run the gamut from about maybe $30 to $50 for like the Amazon stuff, all the way up to $350, $400 for the really high-end brand name stuff. And it's just a personal thing. Like, you just got to try them and see what works for you. That gets expensive, or it's going to get expensive if I don't find what works for me pretty quickly. And I don't know of anybody who's like, yeah, go for a long ride, it's sweat all over it, and then return it, So yeah, that's a challenge. Whew, chilly out here. I'd really rather be back in the woods going a little slower and working a little harder. All right, so let's see the other back door into Bradbury. Ooh, well, this is a lot drier than it was. Taking it a little slow here because I really just don't know how much to trust these tires yet, and especially on wet routes. Makes one a little nervous. All right, so really, yeah, at the point of an hour into the ride where I should be trying to replenish some calories. Not that I've been riding super hard. Like, I obviously don't need to. I could do this 3-hour ride without eating anything, but it's something I need to work on just as much as the actual riding. So let's see if we can do anything here. Oh boy. All right, got myself into some trouble here because I sort of forgot about this. It's definitely recommended to do technical descents with a croissant in your hand. Not that I'm not doing it super fast. Okay. I think the unwrapping it part is the hardest part, to be honest with you. No, not gonna be able to do that. I think I'm learning a lesson about the aluminum foil. I sort of thought that that might be easier to handle, but it's not. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unwrap it and then also put the croissant back in my pocket, and we'll see if I can get it out. And just obviously carrying a loose croissant in your pocket is not like a viable long-term solution, but I could have it in like a bag that's open back there and then try to grab that. So this is just kind of simulate that for now, and we'll deal with some crumbs in the kit. All right, now here's the slab up here. Yeah, this is really a terrible section to be trying to eat anything. There's so much sketchy stuff. You see how grippy these tires are. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, well, I just ripped a piece of the croissant off. I was trying to take it out, but it just ripped. Man, eating on that technical stuff feels like an excellent way to choke to death. That's probably another reason that people use goo. Gotta say though, the nutrition stuff definitely makes a difference. Like, I just ate that croissant. I wasn't filming while I did, but I also just drank a bunch of my water, which has some scratch hydration in there, so there's a little bit of calorie in that. And I just feel a lot better, you know? Not that I was feeling bad before, but sort of feeling more awake, a little more energy. One of the things that I've heard a lot of the pros say as I, listen to podcasts and watch Sid Mackey videos and stuff like that. Everybody says, not even just the pros, it's just like how you feel now is not necessarily how you're going to feel, later. So even if you feel terrible, just keep going. You might feel better. What's going to stop me in that race is my brain, not my body. It's going to be my body's going to feel like I can tell you that right now. But that'll be true regardless of whether I finish or not. So really, it's a question of how long can I put up with and embrace that feeling. Okay, here is this roll, which of course was the site of my first ever OTB back in year one. Classic crash for me. And it's funny, you crash somewhere once and it's just kind of in your head. I mean, that roll is nothing, and I've done it many times since then. But once you've crashed somewhere, it's always got a spot in your brain. All right, so it's 3:15. I'm on the other side of Bradbury, as you can see, which may or may not be smart, but anyway, it's time for more calories. These are also wrapped with my aluminum foil approach, but I think this might be more doable on this sort of trail. This is Northern Loop at Bradbury, which is like the main double track trail that all the hikers come up. So it's not too bad. Okay, yeah. So that worked fine. Get the trash stowed away. Sugar. Again, this isn't necessarily the ideal race fuel, but this is what we had in the kitchen. In Tote Road. Okay. This is the part where I need to be a little bit more careful. Oh boy. Whew. I feel like that's become a full-on drop there. Nice, feeling pretty good about that. Just let her bounce around a little bit. We're near the end of the ride now. I mean, basically I'm just riding home at this point, but the camera battery died about an hour ago and I didn't bother switching it. I just figured I'd finish out the ride without it. But I just did a battery switch while riding. Earlier in this video, you recall I was complaining about dogs running past their invisible fences. That literally just happened. Some guy's out on his porch with his two dogs, invisible fence sign. They see me, they of course come sprinting towards me. One of them blows right past the invisible fence and comes over and jumps on me. He goes, he's just saying hi. And yeah, he is. In that case, that was a perfectly friendly dog. The problem is, one, you know, first of all, it's just annoying that I have to stop, right? Because your dog runs past your fence. I don't know if I can outrun it, first of all, if it is trying to bite me, but second of all, I don't want to drag your dog 6 miles down the road. And that has happened before, where I've been chased all the way home. There's one dog who used to live on this road who would follow me miles home and try to come into our house. So that's one reason I feel like I have to stop. But of course, the other reason I feel like I have to stop is because I need to defend myself in case the dog is aggressive. And most of them aren't, but some of them are. I have been bitten. Never been bitten while riding, but I've been bitten while running. And that was by a dog that its owner assured me is friendly and doesn't bite. She was real surprised to see the hole in my pants that it bit right through. Anyway, I mean, as a dog owner myself, I hate, part of me is kind of uncomfortable complaining about this sort of thing, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, our dog is not allowed outside unless she's on a leash or she's inside our fenced in with a physical fence yard, precisely because she is friendly. But not everybody wants to be run up to and jumped on by a dog. I guess this is just my PSA. If you have a dog, you keep it under control and don't have it, you know, be jumping on people who don't want to be jumped on. I know that's not easy, but, well, no, it is easy. It's pretty easy most of the time, let's be honest. All right, so back from that ride, and I just thought I'd do a little bit of a quick wrap up on how it went. Overall, feeling pretty good about everything, surprisingly good, especially with this bib. This is like the cheapest one that I own, Neo Pro, but 3 hours, I still feel okay. So that's a good sign about this and the saddle, actually. I'm feeling good about that. Feeling good about a lot of the gear and how that went. I did manage to eat all of my food while riding single track, so that was cool. That went pretty well. There were times, even like an hour in, where I was starting to feel like, wow, I'm feeling kind of drained right now. This is not good. I got 2 more hours left. And then, but I would say the best that I felt all day was about 2.5 hours in. There was just this like a little section where, I don't know, I just felt great. And so I was really probably putting more power down than I should during that little part. Just had some good tunes going, and I was just like really feeling it. So that was a good, yeah, overall, great ride. Training is going well. And that was just a good early lesson, or sort of early reminder of that thing that for like a long distance race, don't give up even if you feel like crap, because you might feel good later. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Got a well-deserved rest day coming up tomorrow, so that's gonna be fun. It's also Monday, which is less fun.